Hey there, quirky people! Today we're looking at the similarities between James Gunn's MCU and DCEU movies. Guardians of the Galaxy turned out to be an inspiration for David Ayer's original Suicide Squad. It was an action comedy with a great music track to go along with it. And James Gunn's first Guardians was also an all-out action comedy. It had some amazing songs playing in the background right from the beginning. Well, Ayer didn't want to make a copy of the Guardians. By now, we all know that the original quote-unquote Ayer cut was quite different. It had a darker note that captured more drama to go along with the action. But with the massive success of Deadpool, major rewrites were made to Suicide Squad, and most of its third act was reshot. Guardians and Deadpool's comedic tones became the goal for the film. Geoff Johns tried to add more humor into a film that was originally envisioned as a drama. Ultimately, the product was Warner Bros. Giving us a half-baked Guardians copy with an ensemble lineup, some great action, a comedic tone from the characters, and a pretty cool mix of songs playing in the back throughout the film. While the box office numbers turned out to be great, the film did suffer on its plot due to the significant changes made to its script. And now we're moving into the Suicide Squad sequel. This time, Warner Bros. Have brought in the director that they actually tried to copy with the original Suicide Squad, and he is bringing quite a few bits from Guardians of the Galaxy into the Suicide Squad. Now don't get us wrong, the Suicide Squad will obviously be different from Guardians in many ways, but Gunn really established his style with Guardians of the Galaxy and its sequel. Guardians is a typical James Gunn superhero movie, and the Suicide Squad is also a film where we'll find typical James Gunn tropes. So let's look at everything that he is bringing into the Suicide Squad with his two Guardians films. First up, what we have is an Ensemble Cast. Ever since Guardians 1, Gunn has been working on movies that carry an ensemble cast of actors and characters. And his new DC feature is no different than the 2 volumes of Guardians. In fact, the Suicide Squad packs an even bigger group, as Gunn brought in 25 actors to fill the cast. Guardians Volume 1 allowed Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista, and Zoe Saldana to have bigger careers in Hollywood. Back then, they weren't the big names that they are today. And even though Gunn has got more A-listers in the Suicide Squad, a lot of supporting characters are still going to make huge careers out of this film. I mean, John Cena in particular will find probably bigger roles after Peacemaker. Rather unfamiliar characters. Back when Gunn brought us Guardians Volume 1, regular moviegoers had no idea about who the Guardians were. Comic book readers obviously knew them, but no one knew what to expect from the film. Gunn picked these unfamiliar characters and turned them into lovable household names. And now, he is doing the same with the Suicide Squad. He has really scraped the barrel of DC's extensive rogues gallery and picked out names that most people didn't know of. I mean, besides Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, Captain Boomerang, and maybe even King Shark, all these characters coming into the Suicide Squad are 3rd or 4th tier DC villains that the general audience don't even know about. So once again, Gunn is taking these misfits like Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and Ratcatcher, and he's turning them into big names that we'd surely remember. Music track list. All the songs playing in the background were a big part of Volume 1 and 2. Gunn wrote them in his script while writing those films. As I've mentioned, a music track list was a big part of the first Suicide Squad, and that won't change with the second film either. In fact, the Suicide Squad has also got an original track as Jesse Reyes has come up with a beautiful pop classic called Rain. I need to feel the raindrops on my head. Gunn's Trademark Comedy.
Term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
No.
Both the Guardian movies were out-and-out comedies. There's no denying the fact that the first Guardians was much funnier than the second. But the second one had more gags in it. And when there are so many jokes in a film, it is not necessary that all of them would land for everyone. The first trailer for Suicide Squad 2 proved that we'll be getting a lot of jokes and punches in this film. But all the gags did not work for everyone, and the trailer wasn't as well received as it was supposed to. The second trailer, on the other hand, was much funnier. So all in all, we know that we are getting a typical James Gunn comedy. Along with the action, the film is going to be filled with jokes and gags that are going to overwhelm the viewers. Michael Rooker is playing another crucial role. Rooker played Yondu in Guardians Volume 1 and 2. He was a supporting character in the first one, so people actually didn't realize how important his character was until Volume 2.
He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
And now, Michael Rooker is playing Savant in the Suicide Squad. According to the trailer footage, it does seem that Savant will survive at least until the third act. So again, most people probably don't realize how important his character is until we watch the film. Groot and King Shark.
Bird.
Sylvester Stallone played Starhawk in Guardians Volume 2, and Steve Agee was Ravager in both films. Now both of them have joined the Suicide Squad. Steve Agee plays the warden of the Bella Reeve Federal Penitentiary, and he also did the motion capture for King Shark. And Sylvester Stallone voices King Shark. James Gunn stated that Groot and King Shark are different. Groot is good and he cares for people, but King Shark is less sentimental. He won't think before eating a person alive. But now, we can see that King Shark is a character totally inspired by what Gunn did with the talking tree.
I am Groot!
Groot is a big CGI character who can only speak 3 words. He is the team muscle in many ways, and the same goes for Nanaue, aka King Shark. He is another killer CGI character who speaks only a few words. Gunn picked a big name like Vin Diesel to voice Groot. And this time, we've got Sylvester Stallone doing that job. Weasel and Rocket.
Only he didn't use friggin'.
Sean Gunn did the motion capture for Rocket in the MCU. Rocket, as we know, is a furry animalistic creature with a distinct personality. Now coming into the Suicide Squad, Sean Gunn is doing the motion capture for Weasel. He is yet another computer-generated animalistic character with its own distinct personality. Weasel may not be as lethal or important as Rocket Raccoon, but he isn't completely harmless either. Everything about him reeks of Rocket Raccoon, although he may not survive as long as his MCU counterpart, Peacemaker and Drax. Dave Bautista played Drax, who is a muscular badass.
What?
But he is also way too literal in his beliefs, which makes him seem dumber than his other teammates. And that's where his comedy comes from. Now, even though Bautista joined Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead instead of the Suicide Squad, James Gunn particularly wrote the character of Peacemaker for Big Dave. Peacemaker is also a muscular badass with literal beliefs. He is someone who would go to any lengths in order to attain peace. So once again, his comedy will originate from the fact that he is weird and way too literal. Instead of Bautista, John Cena is playing his character. Gunn's Outworld approach. James Gunn is credited for giving MCU's cosmos its own distinct look. The jump points of space and several other cosmic planets were a creation of Gunn, and he will always be credited as an executive producer whenever Marvel will use those similar cosmic elements in their projects. Now, the Suicide Squad isn't a film set in space, but it is still a film that looks nothing like the previous DCEU movies. Gunn brings his own distinct visual appeal to it, and even though it is set on Earth, most of the film will actually look and feel otherworldly to many of us. Nathan Fillion gets another role. Now, this similarity isn't as apparent as others on this list, but Nathan Fillion played a blue monstrous inmate in the first Guardians movie. Gunn couldn't fit him in Volume 2, even though he wanted to. So he made up for that by casting him as TDK in the Suicide Squad. Like the blue alien from Guardians, TDK is an original character created by Gunn. He is based on a DC character called Arm Fall Off Boy. As the name suggests, this character can literally detach and use his arm in combat. And we're going to see Nathan Fillion do exactly that. Okay, that's all for now. Which other similarities did you find between the Guardians movie and the Suicide Squad? Let us know in the comments. Hit the subscribe and the like buttons if you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to check out some more fun videos on our channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!